What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Stay Fresh production. Today I got a special video for you guys. I feel very fortunate to be collaborating with another reviewer here in our community, Pep, also known as the Scentinel here on YouTube. We decided to come together and put together a list of fragrances that we originally did not like all that much, or maybe even hated at first, and over time and wearing and smelling kind of grew to enjoy, and just found surprise in that. So I invited Pep to share 5 of his fragrances, then I'm going to share 5 of mine. So let's see what Pep has to say.
Hi guys, welcome. It's Pep here from the Scentinel channel. First up, straight away, I want to thank Justin for agreeing to collaborate with me, and I think this is a great idea he's come up with, and I'm keen to talk about the fragrances that I've chosen. But before I do that, my scent of the evening tonight is Herod from Parfum de Marly, and I know at the moment it's Justin's favourite, so this one's for you, brother. Okay, without further ado, let's start. Okay, so what we're talking about are fragrances that we kind of didn't love initially when we first smelled them, and to me, what I've found with fragrances is that it's a lot like when you're a kid. There's lots of there might be a lot of food and things that you don't like to eat, and I guess when you're starting out trying fragrances, at the beginning you may not like some, and they kind of grow on you. You try some things and you keep exploring, and then all of a sudden, after a couple of wears of something, you might realize, wow, this is amazing, and that's happened to me with a few of these fragrances. So all of these fragrances I'm going to talk about, I have decants of, and I think that's important because we're talking about things I didn't like initially and I've grown to really like, or in some cases love. Now if I'd gone out and bought full bottles of these, or blind bought these bottles, I would have been regretting them and probably trying to sell them off. Luckily, I've had a chance to test them for a bit, and now I'm convinced that once my little samples are finished, I will buy a full bottle of these fragrances. So, first fragrance that I would like to talk about is Black Orchid from Tom Ford. I have a decant of the EDT version. Now, when I first tried this fragrance, it just felt like very heavy floral fragrance, and I just got this vision of perhaps an older woman that wore something with amazing sillage and projection, but wasn't pleasant at all. That was the first time I'd smelled it on a tester. I persisted with it. I sprayed some on my skin, and I got to say, I wasn't crazy about it the first time, and then as I was finishing off the sample that I had, I realised that there was really a lot more to this fragrance. It's a very dark, heavy floral fragrance, but not floral in the light floral sense, but very heavy tuberose is one of the main notes in this. But what happens is, once you start wearing it and you wear it a couple of times, it develops, and it's actually quite a mysterious, complex fragrance I've found. And provided you go easy with the sprays and you don't overspray this, it's actually quite a sexy fragrance on a man. It is, I mean, it was initially marketed to women. It's definitely unisex, but I really like wearing it. It's good for things like date nights and going out in the evening. Winter, I wouldn't wear this in heat, but that is Tom Ford's Black Orchid. Okay, so the second fragrance is also a Tom Ford, and I have to say, this is the weirdest experience I've ever had. The first time I smelled this fragrance on a tester strip at a department store. Now, I don't know if this was just a bad bottle, but I sprayed some on the tester strip, and I wasn't sure. I put some on the back of my hand, and the best way to describe this is that it smelled to me like a room where there had been a corpse lying in it for a few days, and it just had that really strange musty smell of death. Oud wood. And whatever I sprayed on the back of my hand stayed on my hand for 24 hours, and after a shower it was still there, and it was every time I went back to sniff it, it was not good. But what I realise now is that this is the first time I'd ever smelled any form of oud in a fragrance, and it was early on when I started to collect some fragrances, and now I find this just a beautiful, masculine, elegant, smooth, woody fragrance, and I don't recognise the smell that I have as oud wood now to the smell I first encountered in that store. So either my nose has changed a lot, or whatever I smelled back then was not oud wood, or it had gone off. So that's number 2. Number 3, the fragrance is from the house of by Rado, and that's by Rado Pulp. Now, this wasn't a hate for me initially. It is one of the strongest ripe, fruity fragrances you will encounter, and we're not talking light, summery citrus fragrance, although this is, you know, I would wear this probably most of the year, but definitely nice in the warm weather. This is a projection beast for that type of fragrance. I didn't like it initially because it just felt like I'd poured a bowl of fruit salad over my head, and the fruit was starting to go off, and that's what I felt like I smelled like. But after a couple of wears, again, this one has got a bit more to it. There's a lovely floral note blended into the mid notes with this one, and it tempers that fruit. So once you have a few wearings of this, other people might still not like it on you, but it's definitely something that I enjoy wearing, and I know, and again, it's not an overspray one, but it's just a lovely, pleasant, fruity, floral smell, and that's Pulp by Rado. 4th on my list is another oud dominant fragrance, but this time around it wasn't the oud that bothered me about this fragrance the first time I smelled it. This is a Montal fragrance, and it's their very famous Black Oud. Now, spraying this on, it's a very strong first initial hit, but really what got me was that rose. It's rose dominant, it's a rose and oud combo, but really the rose. And you know, when I first started collecting fragrances, rose is something that I never thought that I'd grow to like, and the initial blast of this fragrance was that impression for me. I thought, oh no, I just can't wear this, and I did spray it on just to test, and as it sits on your skin, so you know, the opening still takes a bit of getting used to, but as it sits on your skin, this develops, and the oud slowly takes over, the rose drifts into the background, and this is the type of fragrance where you keep wanting to sniff wherever you sprayed it. Again, never overspray this, a couple of sprays maximum. Cold weather scent for me. To me, it's like a really great starting point for that kind of rose oud combination, and then there's probably countless varieties of that type of fragrance out in the market at the moment, but that is Montal's Black Oud. My last fragrance is one where it was my first encounter with a vetiver fragrance. I'd never tried anything with a dominant vetiver note in it, and it's none other than Terre d'Hermès from Hermès. This is a pretty iconic fragrance now. It's been around for over 10 years. What I didn't like initially, and also what other people around me didn't like initially, was that people can think that this is kind of like a bug spray kind of fragrance, and I completely understand that, but again, if you wear this a few times, you get to appreciate it. You get to appreciate the beautiful citrusy bitter orange blended with the vetiver, and it's a really kind of earthy vetiver as well. It's not, I don't find that it's as clean a vetiver as something that you find in L'Artisan's Timbuktu. And the combination of the citrus, the earthiness, the vetiver, I find on me Terre d'Hermès projects now, and I've had compliments from it. So it's probably something you need to experiment a bit with in terms of how many sprays and what time of the year you spray it, what the temperature is. It's definitely very well suited to warm weather, but I find Terre d'Hermès, if you vary the sprays, you can wear it all year round. Now I've moved on to trying the Terre d'Hermès Parfum. That was the EDT. I still love the EDT, but again, initially it was a bit of a shaky start to the relationship. So they're my 5 fragrances that went from okay to thumbs up, and I want to take this opportunity once again to thank Justin. I love your channel, Justin. You're one of my favorite reviewers. You've got the best voice on YouTube, and here's to you going from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Pep. I actually have a little bit of overlap with you, but I'll go ahead and move those 2 to honorable mentions. Terre d'Hermès as well as Black Orchid are both fragrances that I've definitely, when I first smelled, I was like, nah, bro, I'm good. But in smelling them, just in passing over time, I'm like, wow, this is kind of nice. I can see why people appreciate it, because I'm starting to appreciate it myself. So we'll see what happens. I don't think I'll ever be buying a bottle of Black Orchid, but Terre d'Hermès, I don't know, it is kind of growing on me. So we're going to get into my 5 fragrances that I have not really liked at first and have kind of grown to like even more. These are in no particular order. Number 1 is going to be Creed's Green Irish Tweed. When I first smelled this, it reminded me of, sorry, this is disgusting, like urine with some kind of greenness added to it. I think it was the lemon verbena. I just didn't vibe with it at all. But over time, it was mainly the opening, by the way. The opening was what really threw me off every time, and the dry down was always okay. But now I'm beginning to like the opening a whole lot more. Just in wearing it and testing it out, I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is nice. I can see where it comes from now. But now the dry down is actually starting to bore me. After a couple hours, I just get bored with the fragrance. So I don't know if I'll ever be getting a bottle. I don't dislike it. I definitely like it a lot more than I used to, but it's just probably going to stay as a decant for me, and that's fine. Next on the list is going to be Kilian's Straight to Heaven. I featured this in my starting lineup video I did a few months back as my daring scent. It's definitely one of those fragrances that I'll probably never own a large amount of, to be honest. But in just testing it from a little sample, I've grown to like it more and more. When I first smelled it, it literally smelled like dirty, damp chocolate to me, to be honest. It's a really beautiful fragrance though, and the more I've smelled it, there's patchouli, which is a major player in it. That's what gets that damp and earthy kind of feel to it. There's rum, I think, in there. There's even some like fruity notes to it. I don't know. It's a beautiful just cocktail of stuff to make a very elegant, well blended, and very unique fragrance. That's truly, truly a work of art from the house of Kilian. So again, probably won't ever own it, but I really do like smelling it now. Number 3 on my list is actually going to be another Creed fragrance, and that would be Silver Mountain Water. Now, I think I am beginning to like this one a little bit more than Green Irish Tweed. When I first smelled it, it just smelled like kind of salty, inky tea with a little bit of fruitiness to it that was just cold. But the more I've gotten into it, it's just gotten very juicy, very just kind of succulent. It's a really beautiful fragrance, very deep and rich, and I've grown to like it very much. I hate the performance on it. I wish it lasted longer. At least on my skin, I can't get more than 5 hours for some reason. But I really am liking the smell of it more. I might get a small decant of that. Maybe I'll find a partial bottle and I'll get it. But I'm liking that a whole lot more. Number 4 on my list is going to be the entire Dior Homme line, which at first sniff I was like, I could never see myself wearing this. I don't know how a man could pull this off. that lipsticky, waxy, cosmetic-y smell that you get from the iris in there. But in spending more time with each one, particularly Dior Homme Parfum and Intense, I've really grown to love the nuances of both of those. Kind of the deep chocolatey cocoa-ness of Dior Homme Intense, along with that iris note, and the deep leather, really strong leather note in Dior Homme Parfum, and the performance on that thing is outstanding. Dior Homme itself is something I'm appreciating more, but that one is always just a little bit, oh, like, wow, I can't wear that, but I really love how this smells. So the Dior Homme line is something I'm really growing to like more and more. Finally, my last fragrance I'm going to mention, from the house of Tom Ford Noir. I'm just kidding. I hate Tom Ford Noir. I don't know if you saw my review. I'll link it up in a card somewhere. I cannot stand that fragrance. So I'm just kidding. Tom Ford Noir is a fragrance I have never liked, and I'm never going to like, I don't think. The fifth fragrance is actually from the house of Paco Rabanne, and we're talking about Invictus Aqua. Yeah, when I first smelled it, I didn't like it. And that's because I don't like the original Invictus. I still don't like it. It's too sweet. It's very boyish, and I just can't smell it. It makes me sick. It gives me a headache. It's so linear. I just can't deal with it. But Invictus Aqua, again, when I smelled it at first, I'm like, ah, this smells like Invictus in water. That's all it smells like. But I kept testing it out, and I kept wearing it around people and kept getting a lot of really positive reactions. I'm like, man, okay, people dig this. The more I kept testing, I'm like, man, I kind of dig this too. It's fresh, it's uplifting. I love the performance. I love the way it makes me feel when I wear it. I just feel, you know, just very present, very bright. I just love the smell more and more. So I ended up getting a partial bottle of that. So that is one that kind of turned over into something that's in my collection now. So that's Invictus Aqua. And those are my top 5 fragrances that I've grown to hate into growing to like. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Pep, for collaborating with me and providing us some real insight on your fragrances that fall into that vein. Stay tuned for more. Peace. See you guys in the next one.